Are people fear and loathing Las Vegas GP? Zach Brown fires shots at Monaco? And Dave curbs his enthusiasm on F1 treks. Welcome to the Late Night Race Review.
It's Monday,
the 4th of April. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dave Jericho, and with me as always is the F1 meat sparkler, Mr. Owen Scott. If you like your Formula One news and reviews a day late and with the accuracy of a fat man at a roller disco, then you've come to the right place. Well, Scotty, we had no F1 this weekend, but there was enough news to keep us occupied.
Yeah. We had a few bits of news this week. The big thing, I guess, so we get straight into it, would be Las Vegas, the announcement of Las Vegas GP. Yeah. What were your initial thoughts when this was announced? Did you see it coming?
Well, it was kind of the worst kept secret in Formula One for a while. I think there was rumor of that coming out for a while, and and then their slightly ridiculous secretive video that they released that was clearly the sign for welcome to Las Vegas. So yeah, I suppose I knew it was coming for a while, but it was nice to see it announced, though, I have to say.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got like a total of we will have a total of 3 USA Grand Prix by 2023. And obviously looking at Drive to Survive, do you think that this is kind of the fruition of that market kind of opening up? And is this what we're going to be seeing in the future? Is more American races? What do you think?
I would yes and no. I don't think they can add more. I don't think they could justify adding any more. I think 3 is perfect. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't kind of get the sort of social backlash that's been going on via sort of, the usual outlets, Twitter, Facebook, all that type of stuff, where people are sort of complaining, we have 3 races in the United States, but we don't have one in, say, Africa. We have, we're at the expense of something in Europe or whatever. Yeah. I think the three races in the United States is perfect. I think it's the right amount. And I think people have to understand, look, I'm an F1 purist, and I like to make sure that we're keeping the historical tracks. But I also have to understand that things are evolving, the fan base is evolving, and as a result, people are just going to have to evolve with it. The Netflix series definitely had a huge impact on the decision to, well, yeah, it would have had a huge impact, because I mean, this impact would have been coming since probably the last season 3 of Drive to Survive. So I think we've got a new generation of fans. It is taking flight in the United States now, which has been taking a while. But I think I'm excited for it, though.
Yeah. Me too, I have to say. When you look at F1, say like a business, it makes perfect sense to go there. That's where the money is, and they're going to pay good money to have races there. So it's win-win for Formula One.
And at the end of the day, people have to understand that just because these are new fans that are coming in, whether it's via this Drive to Survive series or not, and think what you like about season 4 of that, but those new fans are no less important than me of 35 years or someone of 40 or 50 years. Yeah, if they enjoy, if they are only new to this, to Formula One this year or last year or whenever they got involved in it, if they enjoy it and they want to turn up at the racetrack and enjoy it, then absolutely, if the fan base is there for them, do it.
I think the current or the new crop of fans need the purists there to kind of explain some of the more the ins and outs of Formula One, some of the more technical stuff. It's important to have both of those there. The newer fans bring in droves of money on merchandise. And obviously you need the purist there not to kind of lose the heart of the sport. But it is about marrying the two of them together, though.
Absolutely. It's important not to lose sight of the goal that's to improve the spectacle of Formula One. while still keeping the historical roots of Formula One. And like you say, it is a case of marrying those two together and finding a nice balance between the two. And I think that's perfectly doable. I don't think having 3 races in the United States is going to affect that in any way. There are some race circuits now that I would think that if it came at the expense of, some historical, like Spa, for example, I mean, if it was to come at the expense of that, look, I think it wouldn't be just me up in arms complaining. So, but at the moment, that's not the case. They want to expand the calendar. So, look, I think it's great. It's good news all around.
Yeah, definitely. And on Vegas, now that it's confirmed, what do you think of? There's going to be obviously logistical challenges to putting on a race in Las Vegas. They're going to have to close down a sizable chunk of the town there. It's what 6.12 I have here in front of me kilometer route, and that's a busy city.
It's a strange one to like. I mean, it's going to be. So, I mean, look, you've got Monaco manages it. You've got Baku as well manage it.
Yeah.
And you have to remember as well, it's not going to be shut down for, 2 weeks or a week, or it's going to be closed for the duration of the race weekend. I mean, like nighttime, it's going to be, as far as I know, because what you have to remember as well, what I find unusual about it is the hotels. If you, I don't know whether if you know the new layout for the Las Vegas GP, but you've got hotels that sort of sit inside the closed loop.
Yeah.
And my question is, like, all those hotels would have like underground car parking, that type of stuff.
Sure.
So for the likes of the Friday, Saturday, that type of thing, I just wonder how they manage it for those sort of, guests of the hotel, because you can't obviously cross the track. There's no, like, I haven't been to last time I was in Las Vegas was late 90s. So I don't think there's no sort of, there's no underground that passes via the strip or anything like that to get through over. So I'm not 100% sure how that works. But that aside, they will start working on the building the racetrack, putting up all the sort of the temporary stands and stuff like that around the track. Probably about 2 weeks, I think. I think Monaco starts building about 2 weeks before. It could be even earlier than that, where they start putting up the stands, all the scaffolding, that type of stuff, all the Armico barriers, all that type of stuff. And it's only then sort of as it's approaching sort of I suppose the Wednesday where they're actually starting to close off roads and sections of road and stuff like that to get ready for racing.
I wonder, obviously they'll be looking to Monaco to see how to put this together. I wonder in Monaco how they deal with that same situation. There's lots of residencies and hotels within the track limits there.
There's a hotel. Now, I could be shot and everybody could be screaming at me here, but I don't think there's a lot inside the Monaco loop. There is the hotel at the hairpin. Then you've got, just trying to think now, you got the pit straight and stuff like that, where you've got the paddock. Like, there's no buildings there as far as I know. You got the swimming pool complex. I don't think it's going to be as much of a logistical challenge in Monaco in terms of hotels and that type of stuff as it would be in Las Vegas, because like I said, Las Vegas has, I think, maybe 10, possibly maybe not quite 10 massive hotels and casinos right inside the closed loop that people will need to get in and out of. Now there is bridges all up and down the all around the racetrack, so people will be able to walk. I'm just thinking in terms of people driving, getting into the car park for hotels and stuff. I don't know how that works during like say, especially maybe the Thursday, Friday and Saturday, which will be the sort of the racing days for Las Vegas.
Yeah. Well, look, if anyone can make it work, it'll be the Americans. They'll make it happen.
Yeah.
There's money there to be made, and they'll find a way around any challenge to get to that point, I imagine.
And they're only closing off half the strip as well, as far as I know. Like, I mean, it's not the full strip. But yeah, either way, it's going to be a challenge, and I'm kind of excited to see. I'm sure there'll be same way they do in Monaco. They sort of release these videos that show the sort of the building of the circuit and stuff like that. So I'd be very interested to see one for Las Vegas on how they go about the actual construction of the track. Coming up to a race weekend, that'd be exciting to see.
There is history here. It's not the first time that we've had racing in Las Vegas. We had the 81, 82. What are your thoughts on how that layout? It was Caesar's Palace car park.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the layout and how it differs?
Do you know, I actually did. Okay, the old racetrack was absolute garbage.
Okay,
but,
thanks for saying that. I was looking at it. Yes.
Yeah, it's actually
Terrible.
garbage. But I didn't mind the actual sort of the layout. If that layout, like there's some modifications that could be made on it, but it could have been a decent race circuit. But it was just, it was awful. It was awful. So look, this is chalk and cheese between the two, isn't it? I mean, you've got one that's a street circuit to start with. You've got you're taking in, it's a 6 kilometer. I don't know. Do you know off the top of your head the what length the old circuit was?
I did look at that. I looked at that last night. It was a lot less.
Probably 4 kilometers or something. Probably maybe not even. Was it 4 kilometers, something like that?
I don't have the figure there, but it was less.
It was less.
I'll have
so
to
I mean,
that.
you're talking, like you said, we're up to over 6 kilometer route. You're taking in. I think the biggest factor here is that you're taking in. It's not okay. You were talking the Las Vegas Strip here, but the spectacle of nighttime, all the lights on and the hotels, and I hope they have the Bellagio, the fountains and stuff going as well as they're coming down to that turn. I mean, I think that'd be coming into the final turn. Is it like turn 13? Actually, I can just see here now. It looks like there's maybe a bit of a chicane down there or something like that, but into turn 13 anyway. Let me just see here. Yeah. Like it'd just be fantastic if they have the fountain going with all the lights underneath it, and you've got the cars flying down the straight with the lights reflecting off the cars. It'll just be an absolute amazing spectacle. The cars won't look, they just won't look any better than in that race. I know I'm overhyping it here, but I mean, I can't see them looking any better than in this race.
No. I mean, like just to confirm there, the Caesar's Palace car park was 3.6 kilometers.
3.6 kilometers.
So they're squeezing a lot of track into that area.
That is a big length of Yuki.
We've dubbed it a Yuki.
A Yuki,
So I mean, they're not bringing this race to Las Vegas in order to not make it spectacular and not have all of these things going. It's going to be a spectacle, isn't it? Really, it
is going to be it's going to be a show. That's exactly what it's going to be. Curious that they have only gone, as far as I know, they've only gone with a 2-year contract. Which ironically, when you look at the 80s race, was only 81 and 82. It would be interesting to see whether this will be a 2-year contract with the as a trial. To see how it pans out, or is it just a one-off and do the two-year races and then move to another city? I mean, that wouldn't be outside of the realms of what America would do. I mean, I would love to see a New York race.
I mean,
or something
that's
like that.
Another question then is this something that we might see going forward? Is moving tracks every year, different circuits?
I mean, that's
in different areas.
It's a huge undertaking, isn't it? A huge expense. Then obviously you've got the grading, the licensing, everything that comes with making sure that you've got a grade 1 racetrack. So I think maybe it would be a bit too complex to do it as frequently as that. But it would be fantastic if Las Vegas wasn't necessarily going to be a long term on the calendar, that this race is sort of the third America race or United States race, is one that will be moved around to different cities, different street circuits. I mean, look, that's maybe me just daydreaming, but it would be that would be class. And
in terms of the street circuit, what sort of difficulties do you think the drivers will face in terms of, say, setups? Like what will we see setup wise, do you think?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, the difficulties. I mean, look, it's going to be a fast race. It's going to be a low downforce. I mean, it's get your car going as fast as you can. Slam on the brakes for any sharp corners. I think, and I could be wrong, but I think the difficulties will be going like that Las Vegas strip. I know drivers will be very much having the blinkers on going down that straight, but I'm just wondering. That is going to be sensory overload going down there. And I'm just wondering, is that going to be, now it's a straight, so it's not like it's a complex series of corners. It's not a technical stretch of the circuit. I think if it was a technical stretch, that could get a bit dazzling. But on a straight, I know it should be okay. Setup wise, I mean, look, it's going to be low downforce, so we're going to probably see similar to what they would maybe use in sort of like Monza or somewhere like that. It would be low downforce, fast as you can get it to go. And I think what we'll also see here is probably a return of the DRS chicken.
Yes,
because these straights are going to be powerful. I mean, especially the strip. I mean, if you're coming in onto the strip off turn 9. Now I'm not sure. I don't know whether, and forgive me if this info is out. I'm not sure where the DRS detection zones are on that track at the moment. But if you've got a DRS detection zone coming in on turn 9, which is obviously just coming into the Las Vegas Strip, that's powerful. I mean, you do not want to be the car in front going onto that straight for 2 kilometers. You're not holding that going into the next corner.
Yeah. And the race start time is said to be 10 p.m., which would make it the latest race on the schedule.
Do you get though why they're doing that? I mean, I know they're saying it's about maximizing the viewership, but I don't. Well, sorry, the 10 p.m. on the Saturday more so. I mean, is it really maximized? Like, why do people not watch? Are they maybe they don't want to? I wonder, is it? Well, the NFL isn't going to be on, maybe, or maybe they are. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around here in my own head. Maybe they're considering that, because I don't know. We don't know when this is going to be in the year, so maybe they're thinking they have a few dates in mind. They don't want to compete with the NFL because they know the NFL is Sunday. Like Sunday's a football day in America, so if you've got a Formula One race, a new sport that's trying to gain traction. No pun intended. Then I think that's probably that would make sense going on a Saturday then.
Yeah. No dates have been confirmed or anything for it.
No, nothing at all. No. But I would imagine it's going to have to be outside of the summer to start with. I mean, that city, like I said, I haven't been there in 20 odd years, but when I was there, like, I mean, not only is it hot during the day, obviously, like I would have been there in July, or I think it was July, and you're talking in the 40s, sort of mid 40s, something like that, Celsius, for anybody who's listening elsewhere. But what it does though is it retains the heat. Like, so when it gets late at night, it's still in the 30s, like it's still hot. Like, so I don't think they would necessarily go for a summer race, in which case then if you're going towards the back end of the summer, I think that could be around the time the NFL season kicks off as well. So again, that would tie into the Saturday scheduling. Look at me doing a fucking Holmes on it.
So we talked a little bit earlier there just about, say, the possibility of some historic tracks being not taken out of the schedule, but they're possibly at risk at being replaced. Say if this Las Vegas track is a hit and they want to keep it. One of those tracks possibly, and we've seen Zach Brown having a little chat. Was it on Twitter that he came out? He was talking about Monaco having to up its game.
I think was he not being interviewed or something like that? I mean, I've seen a few sources of it, but I thought it was an interview and people were just taking excerpts from the interview.
Okay.
I could be wrong there. So if you know, don't listen to me if I'm wrong.
No, okay. Well, basically, what he had said that Monaco needs to up its game if it wants to stay part of the schedule. And I mean, we had a look at in our preparation, we had a look at Monaco 2021, and I mean, he has a point. That
Oh
was
yeah.
not a very exciting race.
Well, Monaco hasn't been exciting for a long time, other than um, other than excitement caused from a mistake.
Yeah,
Monaco hasn't been exciting in a long time for its racing. So yeah, he's right. Like, I mean, he is right. They have to think. And again, I know, going back to the F1 purists conversation we had earlier, I get it. It's sort of blasphemy to think of altering Monaco to the extent that it would have to be altered to accommodate these cars. And I'll be honest, I don't even see how you all. I mean, it's not like there's much room on those corners or the track to widen it. So, and they're not going to start physically relaying the actual roads around Monaco to suit an F1. So that's not happening.
yeah. It's interesting. They're not going to. It does put the F1 in a bit of a strategic strong point as they kind of look to come into the next few seasons. Monaco is they pay the least amount of any of the tracks, or
15,
so I read.
Yeah, 15 million is all they pay.
So I mean, again, looking at the F1 from a business standpoint, if you want changes, now kind of looks like it might be the time to do it with another glamorous. And we were talking about Las Vegas there earlier on. That could become that now the glamour race weekend.
That's it. I mean, Formula One now is about a spectacle. Monaco is no longer a spectacle. And if you're trying to get young fans who want exciting, sort of heart racing, then Monaco isn't it. It is it for the qualifying. I mean, on a single lap, seeing one car going, pushing it to the limit to the point where they're nearly wiping themselves out on a wall or a barrier or a corner on a whatever. Yes, that's exciting. But from a race, I mean, you would lose a fan. I mean, even me as a hardcore fan, sometimes you're like, I'm falling asleep watching this. It's so bad.
Yeah.
But a lot of the chatter around sort of from the fans is sort of, and I would say the younger fans, and I'm maybe pointing fingers unjustly, but I think it's maybe more from the younger fans who are sort of thinking, well, the cars are too big and too heavy to go around Monaco, and sorry, let's go back to smaller, faster cars.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, like, it's such a very limited view of a Formula One car. Like, these cars have got extra weight, extra size on them for safety because there's more power. These cars are much more powerful than a car was back in the 90s when maybe Monaco was a bit more exciting, early 2000s. So you can't, so a lot of people's arguments kind of saying, well, we're ruining the sport by adding weight and adding size and all this, that's coming for a reason. And you can't, I mean, we looked at Mick Schumacher's crash in Jeddah. Yeah. That's a prime example of why you can't strip back these cars, why you can't remove these safety features and the size. So it is what it is. So the fact that this is the direction the cars have gone, that's not changing. So people need to get on board with that. The only thing I think is going to change is I don't see them getting rid. Well, do I see them getting rid of it next year? Because I mean, their contract is up. It's in negotiations now for renewal. I mean, they I mean, now is the time. What are you going to do? Renew it for 5 years and have 5 more boring races? Or do you sort of say to them, look, guys, this is what needs to change on this circuit. Make it happen and we renew the contract for another 5 years. Don't make it happen. And I'm sorry, like I mean, it's nearly unheard of to think that they could wipe Monaco off the calendar, but I can't say I will be sad to see it go. It's just not an exciting race anymore.
Yeah, it's more the legacy of that track and
That's all.
it being like it's the seminal F1 track, and I remember playing it years ago on F1 games, and just it kind of encompassed what F1 was to me. You know, me, I wasn't really a huge F1 fan, but I knew Monaco.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
that's it. It is such a historical race, and that's what I'm saying. It's hard to consider that it would be removed from the calendar. But when you put all the facts of where we're at the moment in Formula One, like what's the alternative? Do we keep trundling along with boring race after boring race?
mm,
Do we make them make a change to the circuit? And if so, what can be done to the circuit to make it easier to overtake? I mean, I don't know. Maybe something with the pit straight into turn one or something. I'll be honest. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, something has to be done, and I'm thinking something will be decided before the contract is renewed for 2023. I would say.
yeah, time will tell on that one.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of altering tracks, we had a look last week. You brought up Mick Schumacher's crash. And this was something that was brought up again during the week. You see a lot of fans talking about the curbs and the issue of the curbs in Jeddah. The issue did appear to be stability for the 2022 cars, riding curbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this an issue now for 22 cars?
Well, I think so, but I mean, what the fuck do I know? I mean, yeah, I think so. I think so. Like, if you look at, Joe, before we jumped on this podcast, I was just killing time browsing YouTube, and came up in my feed the sort of highlights of the Singapore Sling, the Singapore Grand Prix, which was the chicane with the sausage curbs that was renowned for, as the name would imply, slingshotting drivers into a wall. And that was cars that had a higher ride height than these 2022 cars.
Yeah.
And they realized the danger of those curbs, so, and it catapulting drivers into walls and into the wrong direction. So they removed they removed it to a degree and made it safer-ish, and removed the chicane. So that same sort of thing applies to the current generation of cars and the standard higher curbs on tracks. Like, there's some tracks now that have a low profile curbing, and some have a higher profile on the curbing. Don't ask me to name which ones have higher and which have lower. Haven't a clue. But some do and some don't. So when you consider that these cars, like, they utilize the ground effect for downforce. So as a result, the car is being sucked to the road. Look, we all know this. We don't need to go rehash it again.
Yeah.
As a result, what a curb that ideally would have been not an issue for a 2021 car that had a higher ride height wasn't being pushed to as close to the road as the 2022 cars are. Now, like I said, we're having that issue. What we saw Mick Schumacher, that he was hitting that curb and losing control of the car. Then we saw Ocon, we saw nearly having the same mistake, Gasly, Verstappen. And I think we were saying as well that in Formula 2 as well, there was a couple of drivers having similar issues.
Yeah.
So that says to me that those curbs should just, and I'm not talking on every track, on every corner. I don't think that's not necessary. But where it is necessary is where you have a sudden change of direction. So going into a chicane, again, going back to where we were discussing about the Singapore Sling, where you have a sudden change of direction. And so Mick Schumacher was hitting that curb, which was effectively on the outside of the, it was sort of the apex, but the outside of the first turn going into the second turn. So he was in the process of turning to the right after he's already hit that curb that's destabilized his car, and he has to swing he's trying to turn the wheel back the opposite way. And as a result, there's no control there.
Yeah.
So it's those corners, I think, that has to be addressed on racetracks going forward for these type of cars. But yeah, like that's my thoughts on it. I think a simple painted curb and enforced track limits would be perfect for that.
Do you think it was something that obviously it should have been flagged ahead of time, but is it really something that they see as a non-issue? And I don't understand how something like this could have been missed, or was it missed?
Formula One's very slow at reacting, I think. I I don't want to say that they won't do anything until something catastrophic happens. But I do think there has to be a number of fairly dodgy accidents before they will look at that issue. And I think when we return to Jeddah next year, those curves are the same. Don't be surprised to see another driver hit that wall, or have similar close calls. Like, it's all well and good people saying, well, look, we don't want to, it's a dangerous sport. Why should we remove that danger? Absolutely, it's a dangerous sport, and I'm all for keeping the danger. It makes it exciting. However, I also, I'm in reality when I realize, and I've done some racing in the past in rallying and stuff like that. So I do understand a sudden change of direction accompanied by an unexpected jolt to the underside of your car. Like, you're not making, you're not keeping the danger, you're adding danger. There's a difference. There's a difference between it being a dangerous sport and intentionally leaving or adding a dangerous element.
I just hope that we're not back here this time next year having this conversation, talking about a more serious accident.
I'll be shocked. I can't think of any other off the top of my head. Like, I haven't gone analyzing all the tracks and corners and stuff like that to find out other corners that this might be a potential issue. Yeah, I don't get it. Look, I'll be honest. Look, let's be real as well. Any accident that a driver walks away uninjured in is a good accident. Like, it makes it exciting. They've walked away. They're unhurt. Look, everybody gets a bit of a thrill and an excitement out of seeing an accident in an F1 track. Let's be honest. Look, we love the overtaking, we love the racing, but if there's a bit of a tip, it adds to a bit of drama and a bit of excitement. Again, once a driver walks away uninjured, unharmed. But I don't agree with adding things like sausage curbs or higher curbs to a track where cars rely on being as close to the road, the track as possible. Where they know they cut those corners. So why not just go with a painted curb and enforce track limits? And if you go over it in qualifying, obviously your time is deleted. If you go over it in racing, you get a warning, you get a second warning, and then you get a penalty, or maybe give them a penalty after the second. First one's a warning, second one's a penalty straight away. Be harsh with it.
There's no other tracks off the top of your head where you could possibly see adjustments being made.
There's not off the top of my head, but this is something. This isn't just Dave Jericho's off on a fucking rant again. Like, this is actually something the F1 drivers brought to the attention of Formula One going back. So I think going back only last year, the year before, this was something that was brought up in terms of the high curbs and stuff like that. So this is something they've been concerned about even before. Even this is something they were concerned about when the cars were higher. The ride height was higher. So I can only imagine after Mick Schumacher hit that wall, after Max Verstappen had a squirrely moment, Ocon, Gasly, I can only imagine those guys are thinking, fucking curb, like, get this fucking thing out of here.
I'm
done. I'm done. I'll step away.
Okay, so before we wrap things up today, there's just one more little bit of news that I'd like to get your opinion on. Christian Horner this week came out to talk about Daniel Ricciardo and his move from Red Bull to Renault, and he stated that the offer they made him to stay was, in his words, stratospheric. But Daniel could see Max in the ascendancy and decided to take his chances elsewhere instead of playing second fiddle to Max. What do you think? What are your first initial thoughts in seeing that printed?
Well, two things. Firstly, I don't think Christian Horner should have aired that. There was no need for that. Secondly, if it is true that's the reason why he left. I've a bit of disappointment in Daniel Ricciardo that he is that sort of fragile in his abilities, in the belief in his abilities, that he saw a rookie coming up through the ranks, and sort of went, this guy's going to be better than me, and I'm going to be back playing second fiddle, rather than fighting for his position at Red Bull as the number one driver. So if that's true, that I'm a bit disappointed that he didn't. Yeah, that he didn't maybe put up much more of a fight. But it could, I think though, it could have been also a bit of that maybe, but also the fact that they were having awful trouble with the engines. Red Bull were drastically underperforming, and I think he just thought, look, I'm going to cash in on a new team. They've sold me on the glitz and glamour and the promise of a title or a podium, and he moved.
Yeah, it hasn't been progression wise. It seems to be heading in one direction for him, unfortunately. In the last few years, he had a decent second year at Renault. I think he was fifth in the drivers' championship overall.
Yeah, but wasn't that the time to sort of think, I should stay? There's something happening here. Stay. Like,
yeah, definitely.
You weren't like he was never going to walk into a ready-made title-winning team. Yeah. So he was never going to kind of go to Renault and win the world championship within the first 2 years. He was never going to go to McLaren and win the world championship within 2 years. I mean, and if he did, then he's delusional. But I don't think he ever imagined that. So if he knew he wasn't going to be winning within 2 years, why bounce around? Like, you're chasing a trophy rather than working for one at a team, and working for the long-term goal. I mean, look at Max Verstappen. Okay, I don't know whether he had any intention of leaving anyway, but he's stuck it out with Red Bull, number one driver, and has got a car and an engine under him that's absolutely going to, possibly win him. Well, certainly going to allow him to challenge for a second driver's title, and Red Bull the constructor's title. Had he look, I could go on another rant, but it's ridiculous. He's been chasing a title winning car rather than working with a team to build a title winning car.
Yeah. I think I read, I can't remember where the article was, but he'd basically said that he didn't have faith in the incoming Honda engine and the power unit, and that he wanted to go. So he saw Renault as possibly being his best shot at a title, which when you look at it now, obviously it was a huge mistake.
But I mean, is he just probably the most unluckiest driver though? I mean, he left Red Bull and they're bossing it. He went to Renault, wasn't happy for whatever reason, left there for McLaren thinking they're going to be better. And now he's fucking down the back of the grid somewhere, and Renault are up there battling for the best of the rest positions. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you look at Renault now, it looks like Daniel Ricciardo has like the touch of death on wherever he goes.
Either that, or teams are thinking, you know what, we get Daniel Ricciardo in for 2 years, we'll struggle, he'll leave, and then we'll be bossing it after he's gone.
I personally, I hope that this isn't the case, and I hope McLaren, because I do have a bit of a soft spot for McLaren, I have to say. I do hope this isn't the case going forward, and he does find his form, but it's coming into his second season now. He hasn't had a great start in the first two, and I know that a lot of it is that car. It is a tractor, but I really do hope they get it together, and the upgrades pull that McLaren along a little bit, so they can actually see, or we can actually see if Ricciardo is up to it anymore.
Yeah. I hope he is. I hope he has his head still screwed on. He's still, he's still hungry and willing to fight for his positions. I mean, I'll be honest, I can't see McLaren having, I don't think there's a clear number one driver there now. So I think it's, you've just got two drivers there, whoever's on top in the race will get sort of preferential treatment. Yeah. But yeah, no, hopefully he sticks out. Either that, or we see, he's 2 years there now this year, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we've got a I don't know what is he, a Williams driver next year?
Yeah. Aston Martin, perhaps.
Aston Martin, Williams, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I do hope that he finds some sort of form, because I mean, how long, if you're McLaren and you've 2 full seasons, obviously he's still putting in performances somewhat. And last season he had a great season, and you can see where that train is heading.
Yeah.
If you're McLaren and Daniel Ricciardo has another bum of a season, I mean, he didn't have a bad season last year. He obviously he won at Monza, but I mean, if he continuously has these DNFs and poor performances, how long are you going to wait out?
Well, I think he could find himself in a spot of bother if, like, they're talking to the IndyCar lads, and now not just was it O'Dowd? Is it O'Dowd or O'Dowd? O'Dowd, isn't it? But they're you know the guy I'm talking about anyway.
Yeah.
But there's another guy who has been promised, I think, some free practice time ahead of O'Dowd. And I'm saying O'Dowd. If anyone's screaming O'Dowd, I am really sorry. But
yeah, maybe do a quick little check on this.
Yeah, let me refer to the.
This is the guy that's currently in. He's an IndyCar with McLaren.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, and he is called.
No, Pat O'Ward. Is that who it is?
Oh no, is it? Oh,
it's O'Ward, I think.
O'Ward. What did I say?
Okay,
O'Dowd.
yeah.
Did I say O'Dowd? Did I? What did I say?
Yeah.
All right,
O'Dowd.
okay.
Pat O'Ward. Yeah.
Wah. It's all right. It's okay. We keep it in. We made a mistake. It's Pato Award, but
yeah.
But anyway, there's another guy. I'm not even going to pretend I know his name, because we'll end up repeating this whole disaster again. But there's another guy who's been promised time in the McLaren, I think.
Right.
So I'm wondering if that guy starts looking good in the practice sessions. Are they thinking, let's get another fresh rookie in? Daniel Ricciardo's become a bit stale in his ability, sort of just sort of settled into, old tricks, maybe get someone fresh in and send him up. So all joking aside, you may see him at the likes of Aston Martin maybe next year, or taking Latifi's spot in Williams.
There you go. That would make sense. I mean, Lando's, how many years Lando in? 3, 4 now?
What? Sorry, I've just slammed me pen down in anger there for a second.
Oh, exciting. Okay, go.
If he ends up in Williams next year or the year after, right, in a struggling Williams car, that's not through fault of him being a bad driver. That is through his own stupid decisions to keep bouncing from team to team. He has managed to work his way from the best team on the grid, or one of the best teams on the grid, to potentially the worst team on the grid, all by himself.
Yeah. I mean, who's managing him?
Someone has got to start fucking give the man a slap.
But yeah, no, look, we live in hope that Daniel Ricciardo pulls it out of the bag, because he is a great driver. He really is. And I hope to see more from him this year, because it'd be disappointing to see him drop down to a lower team. Although, in fairness, McLaren's pretty low now at the moment.
Well, they'll be glad, they'll be bossing it then next year, so they'll be.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. That's it for this week's episode, folks. We'll be back next week for a review of the Australian Grand Prix. We're back in Australia, so it's going to be exciting. As always, if you want to get in touch with your own questions, comments, or corrections, and send them on to feedback@latenightRaceReview.com. But until next week,